Welcome to Brandstorm, the podcast that talks to the people behind America's brands. I'm Dan Trzinski, president of Platypus Advertising and Design.
And I'm Nancy Christopher, PR director at Platypus. Dan, in the early 80s, there was a little old actress named Clara Peller that made the slogan, "Where's the beef?"
Where's the beef?
Right, pretty memorable, right? That was for Wendy's hamburger chain, and it was a slam to Wendy's competitors for selling big hamburger buns with very little meat inside. Well, it's not a problem for our guest today. She not only knows where the beef is, but how to celebrate it. Please welcome Krystal Westfahl, Executive Director at Minocqua Area Chamber of Commerce. The Wisconsin town is the host city of Beef-A-Rama, one of the world's greatest one-day celebrations of beef. And it's been going on for over 50 years. It's great to have you with us, Krystal.
Thanks, Nancy.
So tell us about Beef-A-Rama, great name. How did it come about?
Well, actually, it started out as Fish-A-Rama. And this is, we're going back 54 years here. So Fish-A-Rama started out as basically a thanks to the locals for putting up with the tourists for an entire season.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
That's why the date is the end of the season.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was the fishing guides would have leftovers from the year and they would fry them up, and that's how it really started. A couple years into it, though, they realized that it's kind of hard to sustain a Fish-A-Rama, and so they moved to beef. There's really no connection to cows in northern Wisconsin,
Right,
other
yeah.
than it's just fun
Driving
to
up
grill
here,
out.
you don't see a whole lot after you get kind of past Highway 8.
Right. Yeah. So it definitely is a celebration of meat in the Northwoods. It's quirky and unlike anything anybody has seen in the North, that's for sure.
So is it like one big cookout?
Kind of. That and a whole bunch of other stuff. Really, it's kind of like Halloween and a fall festival and meat and music. It's so hard to put your finger on one thing.
Well, how many cuts of beef do they have?
So we usually grill about 1,200 pounds of meat for the actual event. That's not including the roasting festival, or the roasting competition during the festival.
So different food vendors compete, or is it individuals?
Well, it used to just be, for years, it was just the downtown merchants would participate. So this was all started with the downtown merchants.
Okay.
And, the chamber started overseeing this event some odd years ago, and we just continued that tradition. Now it's really turned into a culinary competition. It's kind of grown through the years, especially the last 5, because the street, Highway 51, right through the middle of downtown, was always open during the first umpteen years.
Right.
That was open for traffic. And then about 6 years ago, they decided, you know what? Let's see if the DOT would allow us just to shut down the highway for this one-day festival.
Oh, wow.
And that's where everything just took off, and the event started growing, and now it's this quirky up north festival that everybody loves to plan to come to.
So give our listeners a feeling of scale. So give us the size of Minocqua population and then what it blows up to for Beef-A-Rama.
Yeah, so our year-round residency is about 7,000, give or take a couple hundred here or there. In the summertime with our second home ownership, we grow to about 20,000. There's an additional 20,000 people that come to this town.
So it's all of a sudden goes from 20 to 40.
Yeah.
In a one day.
And then some. Yeah, we've got a lot of folks that are
And
coming to our little island.
And the city of Minocqua is an island, sort of.
Yep.
It's kind of an
There's
isthmus, but it's
two
an
bridges
island.
that get
so
you in and out.
Yeah, you need to cross a
Yep.
bridge to get in and across a bridge to get out.
So you can imagine the parking nightmare
Oh my
that
God.
this becomes. Yeah, we have about 15 buses that run throughout the day. And we've got parking spaces everywhere.
Off the island.
Off the island, some, 15, 20 miles away, just to get people through. Last year alone, it was about 11 o'clock and we didn't have any more parking spaces available. So we were rerouting buses to new parking areas, and people were finding them.
So I know it's fall, but tell us about the Halloween aspect. Do people dress up for Beef-A-Rama?
Well, I personally wear a tattoo. I do have tattoos. I personally wear a tutu as well as cow ears. So if you don't wear something similar, then you kind of stand out, right?
Okay.
So it makes it a lot of fun for people because, we got folks that dress up like cows. We've got people that dress up like, dress their kids up in little calf costumes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tutus. So I felt that I needed to fall into the tutu camp.
So the theme really is beef. You have to dress up.
Oh, yeah.
As something that has to do with beef.
You're dressing up. Well, we we got a lot of different people that like to dress up as different things. I mean, we've had stilt walkers come just to be part of the festival, and we didn't hire them; they're just here. So, yeah, it is one of those quirky. It's got a Wisconsin flair to it, so it's awesome.
So in addition to the parking that you mentioned, what are some of the challenges to running a large event like Beef-A-Rama?
I think just the sheer scope of how many people actually come here is the hardest. In trying to maintain where they can go and where they shouldn't be. And, I mean, any festival planner says it's like herding cats. You want them to go over here because there's something happening, and trying to get them a schedule because it's an outdoor event. We just recently implemented a new Beef-A-Rama app that you can download, and that has helped us out immensely. Just getting people information on where they can go and what they can do and what's the music lineup and where is it at, and it's the entire scope of the island, and so just moving
So I've heard
people
this
around.
with other events. Are you in that same the day after Beef-A-Rama? You're planning for the next Beef-A-Rama.
Oh
and
yes,
it's a 12-month a year.
It is a 12-month a year deal. We have a large committee too, because it's not just, one organization that's putting it on. We've got our local Rotary group. We've got our local Lions group. Triggs is heavily involved in this.
Triggs is a grocery chain.
Triggs is a
grocery
grocery store. Yeah, locally. That obviously has to help get in all 1,200 pounds of meat, and where do you store it? And, we've got refrigeration
Keep it
issues.
cold, right.
And,
Yeah, you have to keep the health inspectors happy.
We sure do. And let me tell you, Todd Trzinski, the health inspector, is my best friend at this event. I pass everything through him. Yeah, I mean, there's all of those issues of, is somebody going to get sick because there's an undercooked roast? And so we're constantly making sure that our health standards are up to par when we're putting this event on.
A lot of event marketers would be envious of having an event like Beef-A-Rama. So what type of advice would you give them if they are trying to create something like this in their own community?
With Beef-A-Rama in particular, I mean, it's been a 54-year transition. It's been an evolution of going from, first we're going to serve fish and this is the reason for it, and really defining what the festival is first and foremost, I think, is the most important thing, because as any event planner may or may not know, that when an event takes off like it did in the last 5 years, all of a sudden an event can actually outgrow you and your organizers.
Right. So it kind of takes on a life of its own.
You
don't necessarily need to market to people to come to it because it's packed.
It's amazing how word of mouth this festival really grew. There wasn't a lot of aggressive marketing that went into it. It was really, just the progression over the years and the word of mouth of people saying, gosh, have you ever been to that quirky little event up in Minocqua? And we should probably go with our family. So it's been really fun.
We had a local DJ team down in Milwaukee, Dave and Carol, and that was the first time I had heard about Beef-A-Rama. I think Carol went up there, and she was hooked after that 1 year of going to Beef-A-Rama. She said, I'm going back every year.
Yeah.
So that was how I heard about Beef-A-Rama.
Yeah. Well, I was the Tomahawk Fall Ride coordinator for a number of years before I came here, and when I actually did the interview for this position, they said, we've got this really big festival called Beef-A-Rama, and to be perfectly honest, I had never heard of it before. I was from the Valley, and I didn't necessarily travel through during the fall for something like that. And then I went to Beef-A-Rama, and then I started having to organize Beef-A-Rama. And oh my gosh, this is, on par with Tomahawk Fall Ride, which is a 4-day event.
Right.
Just the sheer amount of volume of people that are coming to our small town. It has the same logistical issues, and sometimes are even a little bit harder because we're shoving it all into one day.
Exactly.
So
you mentioned that clearly defining what the event is the most important. Any other advice to event planners to create a signature event?
The quirkier, the better. Absolutely. There's nothing better to market than a bunch of kids in cow costumes.
No kidding.
Great visuals. Total great visuals. Yeah.
Instagram gold.
Oh, yes. Right. Think about what's going to really capture somebody's imagination and what they're actually going to want to come and see and do. Because honestly, besides for having music and having, official roast beef sandwiches, we've got a culinary competition that you can check out, and we've got a lot of really great independent events sort of throughout town and stuff, but it's more about the people that are here, and it's more about kind of people watching, and being a part of this sort of big gathering of meat eaters.
Yeah, that's the best part of a festival, people watching.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea of what type of economic impact that has on a community this size? It's a 1 day.
It's a 1 day
event.
But people are booking their rooms
to stay
well in advance.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
So they'll come for
Yeah.
Thursday, stay till
absolutely. And hoteliers, downtown, resort owners, they will rebook year after year. So you get the same slot. You know, you
Oh,
wanna
wow.
you wanna go down to the hotelier and say, okay, same time, same place next year. It's always the last Saturday in September. You're not going to miss it.
Okay.
Yep.
So, in addition to beef, Minocqua is just a really picturesque area. Tell us about what attracts people to the area in general year round.
You know, it's really dependent on what you actually like to do. We have people that are attracted here because they feel like this is the place that they came when they were kids and they had the opportunity to spend time with family in these beautiful resorts. Others come here because they want to do some, outstanding mountain biking or trail riding, with their mountain bike or bike through the woods on a paved trail. Others come because they want to explore our 2,300 lakes, rivers, and streams by whatever vehicle they choose. Obviously, paddleboarding is huge right now. And because our waters are so gin clear, that's what we call them, gin clear. We really have so many people that travel here just because of that, because they want to look into the water and see the fish swimming like you're in a fishbowl. There's a lot of really great aspects to the communities in our surrounding area. Everything is really, every community has their own personality. And so there's so many different places to come and see and things to do.
Okay, you have to indulge us for a second because we now have a global audience. I just looked at our last statistics on Brandstorm. So give us a little descriptor of where Minocqua is. So it's the United States.
Yes, we're in the
It's
United
Wisconsin.
States. Right.
And how would you best suggest to get here if you're coming from really far away?
You know,
You're going to fly to Minneapolis or
you can
Mosinee or
fly
Milwaukee and drive up?
Probably, I would say the quickest would probably be coming to Chicago and coming up the 51 corridor to come straight to us, because that's the highway we shut down for Beef-A-Rama. You can fly into Minneapolis, absolutely, but you're going to be driving through some pretty wooded areas. It's pretty desolate, you know?
Yeah.
So if you're coming from a populated area and you might not feel comfortable driving some sort of back roads through the heart of the Midwest, maybe you'd want to come into Chicago first and come up that way. It's a really easy drive from anywhere, any point south.
So, Chicago, 94, all the way up to 51, and where 51 stops.
39 is, I think, the highway down there. Then it turns into 51.
Okay,
So
but then where it
interstate
stops
system.
is Beef-A-Rama.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you won't be able to get any further on that weekend.
That is so awesome.
The very first stop sign, or I shouldn't say stop sign, stop light that you come to is in Minocqua. You can basically travel the entire state and then you hit us.
All right. So once again, Krystal, when is Beef-A-Rama?
It's always the last Saturday in September every year.
And this year, that's September 29th,
September
correct?
29th. Yeah, we actually have a kickoff party Friday night, too. We have a preview of our bands, one of our bands that plays on Saturday. And, of course, the Lions Club comes out. But these are good fundraisers for all these independent little groups and organizations.
So, and if you're coming up and you can't get a place to stay in Minocqua, you do have the Minocqua area Chamber of Commerce has other communities.
We do.
So,
Yeah,
tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, we have, under our sort of umbrella, we've got 4 communities between the towns of Arborvita to the north. Coming closer to Minocqua is Woodruff. And then out on Highway 47 is Lake Tomahawk. So those are our 4 communities, and we've got plenty of...
And those are like 10-minute
drive.
at max.
Yeah, but I mean, in our general area, and because this is such a huge event, obviously this is a regional impact. So we have people that are staying in Boulder Junction and St. Germain, St. Star Lake, down in Tomahawk. So, I mean, we kind of impact multiple communities and multiple counties with this event. With all the people coming, we obviously need to have great places for them to stay.
Is there like a central place where people can go to get the best information on, where to sleep, where to eat, things of that nature?
Well, of course, I'm going to tell you to come to minocqua.org.
Of course, I'll definitely.
And they obviously can call us at any time. We've got a great staff here. We actually... I would say probably 90% of the time the people are calling us, they're looking for a place to stay, and you can call 1-800-44-NORTH. It's
Oh,
very
that's easy.
Very easy. So the next time someone asks, where's the beef? Tell them it's in Minocqua, Wisconsin. Thank you so much, Krystal, for joining us today.
Thank you, Dan and Nancy.
And if you like what you've heard, please don't forget to share, review, and subscribe to Brandstorm.
This is Dan Trzinski along with Nancy Christopher at Platypus Advertising and Design, an awesome company that creates perceptions that influence choice for a variety of regional, national, and even global brands on a daily basis. We hope you'll join us next week for another episode of Brandstorm.